Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. So today we are going to look at the February paper pumpkin kit, and this kit is called Celebrate Spring. So it has all the supplies that you need to create three different card designs, and you create three of each of the three different designs. So a total of 9 cards. Now, of course, we're going to look at some alternate ways that you can use this kit. So I have, I'm not sure how many I have. I have a couple different alternate designs that I'll share with you. But the cards that are in front of me right here are the actual kit cards. I do like to put together the cards as intended from the kit. So these are the three different designs, and they're just really beautiful. I love the pastels. So I'm kind of a pastel person. So I really loved just the different elements that were in this kit and the colors and all of that. So these are the three different cards. And then of course there were coordinating envelopes. So I'm going to show you some alternate designs that you can create with the flap of this envelope. So yes, I did cut up some of the envelopes and I created some alternate designs. I know many of you don't like to cut up your envelopes, but the envelopes actually only had a design on the flap. So that's what I'm going to use on some of the cards. And let's see, then I also am going to be using, I'll show you some different cards that I created using the beautiful blooms dies. So these dies, as you know, they coordinate with three kits. So let's see, we're in February. So this particular die set coordinates with the January, February, and March paper pumpkin kit. So I used a couple of these dies to create some alternate designs. So I'll show you those. And then the stamp set, these are the little images and greetings and things in the stamp set. So it's a really cute little kit, a cute little stamp set that you can use to create Easter cards or spring cards, whatever you want to create. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you some of the alternate designs that I created using these supplies. So the first card, I'm going to put these to the side. The first card that I created, I actually took this element, this large element here, and oh, now I'm getting some weird, I'm getting some weird color again. Let's see if I can tone this down a little bit here, guys. That didn't help. Let's see. There we go. That's maybe a little bit better. So this first one, this is the kit design. And then I decided to use this very large oval wreath, just with a little bit of embossing on a piece of white cardstock. So I like to go kind of simple sometimes, and sometimes if there's too many patterns, competing patterns, I'll take it and just put it on like a white card base. So that's kind of what I did here. So I'm going to show you what this one looks like. So I started just using, I think this is called the Beautiful Patterns embossing folder. So I just embossed the card front. So this is an A2 size card. So you can use any embossing folder that you want. And then I just took these elements and then just added them to the card front just to kind of lighten this up a little bit. Because like I said, I think sometimes there's a lot of competing patterns and it just kind of takes away from just how pretty these little elements are. So this is the first one we're going to create, just something very simple. And then we'll get into some more complex designs. They're not really complex, but all right. So let's take all these little dimensionals off here. I can get them off. Did I get them all? I think so. So basically you can just add this to your card front and then just tuck some little elements in there. So the other pieces from the kit are this Happy Easter. I just stamped the Happy Easter on there. The kit actually comes with a little ink spot, a Shy Shamrock ink spot. So that's the colors that I'm using. So basically, you're just going to adhere this on the bottom here. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue, and we'll just adhere this to our wreath. Maybe I can get it to come out. So I'm just going to add glue on each side here because it's going to attach right to this wreath. And then I just tucked this little bunny in there. I have some dimensionals on here. And then you just kind of tuck that little bunny in there. And then you can embellish it with whatever you want. These are the little sequins that came in the kit. Unfortunately, I can't find mine, so I know I didn't use them all, but they're around here somewhere. But you can add some little sequins or whatever kind of embellishments you want. So it's just a very simple, simple little card idea and just a fun alternate design instead of this design. So it just gives you something a little bit different to do with these elements. All right, so that is the first one. So let me look at this next one. I'm going to find the original here. So I kind of did the same thing with this next alternate design. And here's what the original looks like. So this is what the kit design looks like. And then here is the alternate design I created. Same kind of thing. I just embossed the background here. And then instead of adding the basket to the card base that came in the kit, I added it to some white cardstock. So we are going to do that one next. So here's our white cardstock. And of course, you know, I love my little doilies. And I lost my little doily already. Oh, it's just one of those days. I'll just grab another little doily. So these are, in case this is your first time watching, these are the lovely doilies from Stampin' Up. They actually come in red and pink, and they come in 2 different sizes. So I like to use them just to add different layers to my card. So we're just going to use a little quarter of a doily, and we're going to add this to our card here. Let's snip that off. So I'm a big doily fan. I think most of you guys know that. So, all right, so this is where I cut a piece of the envelope flap. So I cut some of the envelopes apart, and you can use thicker pieces, or I used just some thinner pieces just to add a little bit, pull out a little bit of that pretty and pink that is in this kit. So this is 4¼ inches long, and I believe, let me grab my ruler, I believe it's 3/4. It's 3/4 inches wide. So we're going to add our little doily to this first. And you can just add a little bit of glue down on the bottom here. And we'll add this. And then we're actually going to pop this up. So I'm going to put some dimensionals on the edge here. We're going to pop this up here. And let's go ahead. It's going to look like this. So we want to leave enough room underneath here for our basket to get tucked. So let's go ahead and add this. I'm going to add this right across the bottom here. And then I just left a little space in here for our basket to get tucked. This is the basket that came in the kit. So I already added the little egg image behind the basket here. And we're just going to pop it up underneath that, underneath that piece. All right, do I got them all? Nope, forgot this one. All right, So let's tuck this under here and put it right about there, I guess. All right, so that is our basic design so far. And of course, I lost my little flower. Tell you, I lost my sequins, I lost my flower. Maybe it's in this little box here. There it is. All right, so now these are little pieces that came in the kit. So I'm just going to decorate um, the right side of this. So we'll just add this kind of off to the side. And then we'll just add this little flower. So I like when the kit has all these different little elements in it because you can create so many alternatives when you have all these different little pieces. All right, and then we are going to add our little tag. So our tag is just going to kind of go off to the side here. This is the tag from the kit. And I just used one of the, oops, I just used one of the images from the stamp set. I am going to add, I lost my other dimensionals. Here they are. I'm going to add this right here. So part of the tag is going to hang off of the basket. So we'll just add some dimensionals there to kind of hold that. And then my bow, here it is. Then the kit came with some little pink baker's twine. So we're just going to add that. And I like to use a glue dot. Just kind of crunch up one of these glue dots. And then we'll just add this right to that spot. And we'll put our little bow right on top. So that's pretty much all there is to it. And like I said, I like the embossed background, kind of I like the white versus all the color. This is a pretty card too, but I'm just kind of this white embossed kind of person. So that's what I did. So pretty simple, just a fun way to use this differently. And by doing this, you can actually save this piece, which is actually what we're going to look at for our next, the next couple of cards. You can save this piece that has these little flowers on it. So this is one of the kit card bases. The one side is plain, and the other has these pre-printed flowers. And then this other kit card base, same thing. It's got a plain backside, but it has these pre-printed flowers and design on the front. So for the next set of cards that I'm going to do, we're going to use this pre-printed design. And I'm going to show you what I did here. So I actually cut it apart to create two cards instead of one. So I think I did this in the last paper pumpkin video where there was an element where you just use the element on the card to create one card, but I decided to cut that element in half so that I could create two different cards. So that's basically what I'm going to do with this one. This was actually the card base for the kit. This was actually one of the card bases, this right here. So I just cut it apart. I cut it down and then I cut it apart. I cut it in half so that I could create two cards. So the size of this, let's see, I cut it down to 4¼ by 4¼ So it's 4¼ by 4¼ and then I just cut it in half. So we'll use one half for this card and then we'll use the other half for the other card. So let's go ahead and put this together. So again, I have my white card bases. I embossed them all the same. Embossed them with the, I forgot what it was now. Beautiful pattern. Is that what it's called? So I embossed it with that. So we'll start with an embossed card base. And then this piece that I have here is going to be, this one is actually 2¼ by 4 1/4. So that's just going to get adhered to this right side. So we can go ahead and do that first. We'll just add it over here. And then, of course, I have my little doily, which is going to go here. So I have a half a doily this time. And then the pink piece that I'm using is 5 inches long and it's 3/4 inches wide. So it's basically going to go like this on the card. So I think what I want to do is maybe cut down my doily just a little bit more. So let's cut this down a little bit more. So what I want is just a little bit hanging out, and then I want this over the top. So that looks about right. So let's add this. I'm going to add it directly to this piece here. So we'll put that on like that. And then we'll add this piece to the card front. And this will go right, oh, now I got glue everywhere. This will go right about here. And then I just cut a little square shape from a piece of white cardstock. So this is about 1 7/8 by 1 7/8 inch square shape. And that's just going to go right in the center here. Since this was square, I just kind of stuck with the square. So we'll just add this. So if you don't have the stylish shapes dies, you can just cut a square. You can even go 2-inch 2 by 2 if you want. You got plenty of room. All right, so that will be on there. And then I have my little flower, and I have a little scrap piece. This is a 1/2 inch wide scrap piece of white cardstock. So for this, I'm going to show you the greeting because we're going to do a little, hopefully this trick will work. We're going to do a little trick with this greeting. So the greeting is all together. It says hello friend, but I only want the friend part. So it's spaced evenly enough that I can hopefully just ink up the friend. So you kind of go to the edge of your ink pad and just kind of ink up just that friend part, and then stamp it on your piece of cardstock. All right, so that is how I got the friend greeting. You can also tape it off, but I try to do things so I don't have to do too many steps. So let's go ahead and snip this end here. Just dovetail one end. And then what I want to do is attach this to the flower. I want to kind of go behind the flower. So I'll just snip a little bit off. I just kind of eyeball it for this part. So we're going to add a little bit of glue right here. And then we'll add our flower right over the top. Pick that up. And let's add some dimensionals to this. And maybe I can add one more big one just to hold this in place. And then this will just get tucked right on here. And then of course you can embellish it. You can add, oh, my sequin's fallen off. You can add the little sequins that come in the kit, or you can embellish it with, whatever other embellishments you have. But that's the basic design. So this is the first card. So let's go ahead and create the second one. So remember, I used both sides. So this is the right side. Now we're going to use the left side, and we're going to create a very similar design. It's just on the opposite side. So I have my embossed white cardstock, and then I have this other piece, which this one's actually 2 1/4 as well, which means the original piece is 4 1/2. I think I said 4 1/4. So it was 4 1/2 across and 4 1/4 down. Sorry about that. So we will add this. I'll get all the measurements out on my blog, so you'll have them all if you want to create these designs. So we'll add this to the left side. And then we'll do the same thing with our little doily. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. And we'll add it to our 3/4 by 5-inch piece of the envelope. So let's grab that. Let's make sure that that gives us enough room. Could probably even scoot it in a little bit more. There we go. And then we'll add some glue to this. And this will just go right here. And then again, we'll add the same square shape. So that will just go right there. Gotta hold that down for a second here. And then we will stamp our greeting again. So let's move these up and we'll stamp our little greeting. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use this Shy Shamrock. If you have the little ink spot, you can do the same thing. Just set your ink spot down and just go to the edge of the ink spot or the edge of your pad and just pick up ink on the friend and not the hello part. And we'll go right about here. And then we will cut the pieces for this. So let's snip it this way. I think I gotta snip some of this down. And then we'll snip just a little bit of this off. And let's get all these pieces out of here. And then let's add some glue to this side because we're going to attach that flower. And then we'll put some dimensionals on there. Attach that. And we'll just put 3. All right, so then let's add this to the side. So kind of fun, pretty little design. It kind of pulls out all the pink and stuff in this particular paper that I'm using in the card base. So here's what the other design looks like. So if you're just joining me, it's basically this card base here that I just cut it down. So so it was 4 1/2. I cut this down to 4 1/2 that direction, and then I left it 4 1/4 this direction. Okay, so that's what I did for that. And then I want to show you some other cards that I created, some alternate designs. So I was using the uh, little beautiful blooms dies. So in this die set, there's these pretty little tulips in the stem and leaves. So I cut the leaves out of a piece of the card base. So this particular card base is kind of the shy shamrock, although it's much, much lighter than the shy shamrock color. And I cut the leaves out of this card base, out of this piece, so that they kind of stayed the same color. So that's where the leaves came from. And then I used some little scrap down here. But basically, this piece right here is from this card. So remember, I used this oval to create some other designs, which left me with this very large piece, which is peach pie. Let me just grab the piece. So this piece actually goes behind this large oval shape. So it's actually 5 1/4. It's 4 by 5 1/4. So I just cut it in half, and then I just used this little bit to kind of draw out the peach to create this particular card. So I hope that makes sense. So this is actually um, behind this embossed white cardstock. So I just wanted to pull out a little bit of the peach, and then I just added my embossed white cardstock, and then I just created that little flower using peach pie cardstock. So I just thought it was kind of a fun way to use this up. And you can cut this in half, and you can make quite a few of these cards if you wanted to. So it's just kind of a really, really pretty card and a great way to use up that piece that's left over. So let me just show you what I'm talking about here, if I can just find it. So if you're going to create a lot of cards like this, instead of instead of the way the kit intends, you're going to end up with a lot of these little pieces left over. So it's a great way to use up those pieces um, to create a really pretty little card, and it's a fun way to use the dies. And then I also created this one with the dies. So this one uses the envelope, and these little flowers came from, well, let's see, where did it go now? I had it. Here it is. Came from this particular card in the kit. So I just cut that piece down that had the flowers on it. So this is the actual card base from the kit. So I just cut those flowers down to a smaller piece so that I could add it here. And these little rectangular shapes, they came from the kit, but you can easily create squares or whatever, whatever you want to create. And then you can add your little flowers. So this flower is done in peach pie cardstock, and this one is done in pretty and pink cardstock. So that was just kind of a fun way to use that. And I'll just show you this one as well. So this one is just a different way to use these leftover pieces that you'll have. So I just cut them in half, and here I just use them, with a piece of, actually a piece of one of the card bases. And then I actually used the Everyday Arches die to create that little arch shape there. And then you can decorate it with some of the items from the kit. So just kind of some different ways that you guys can use this kit in your card making. I really thought it was a beautiful kit. Like I said, I love the colors, and I loved putting these on the white. Let me turn this on here so you guys can see this a little bit better. I really loved putting it on the white cardstock. I thought that it just really brought out the colors, the pretty colors in this particular kit. So let's see if I can get all of them on here. Oh, now my lighting just goes nuts when I put a lot of white on there. Let's just go with that. There. How's that? Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed these alternate card ideas and it just gave you some inspiration for using your paper pumpkin kit. So if you got this month's paper pumpkin kit and you haven't put it together yet, these are some great ways that you can use your kit supplies differently. And then again, you can also add in some of those die cut pieces from using the beautiful blooms dies. So I like that the dies coordinate with the kits. So it's very easy to create some really pretty cards with those dies. And I think this is probably one of my favorite die sets that they've had with the paper pumpkins. So, um, all right. So that's what I have for you guys today. I'll get these out on the blog for you so that you'll have all the measurements. Um, and I hope you guys are inspired to play around with your kit differently and create some fun alternate designs. You can really stretch your supplies in the kit and create a lot more cards than just 9 cards if you just use your supplies differently. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a great week. And I will see you guys again next week. So take care, everybody.